And we are live, Rooster Boosters. Welcome to Rooster Booster Time. I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar. That's Mike, the Grand Poobah Parazzini. And with us today, we have second-year Rooster, Quinn Ngawati. Quinn, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Listen, I think it's one of the things we love to do is have people back on the show. Second-year player to the team. You know, you're a little more loose with us. You understand, where we're coming from as fans. So it's one of those things that's interesting to always have. Coming off a tough loss, guys fought really hard. Last call controversial. It's one of those things where 2 bonus points, right? You're getting 2 bonus points in the loss, pushing you up in the standings to third place. You still have a game in hand, or Toronto has a game in hand on us right now. We have a game in hand on Toronto.
Yep.
They're going on their bye week, and we have a big thing against Nola. And the first thing I'd like to say, though, is Mikey, how did you not win representing me at the rugby rant last week, bro?
I don't know. Yeah, I think, I think there's some kind of conspiracy that's out there. Whenever I show up, I think I've only won once. Every other time they give it to you or they give it to the Hammer. I'm calling some sort of weird collusion on this.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy. They I watched it last week and they were like, the Hammer won. And I'm like, first of all, most of his points are bullshit. The Hammer, not the brightest, but he's a great guy. So I was just disappointed that you didn't win. But anyway, let's talk about the match. I got to be honest. Probably the best weather we've had at any home match. All the other home matches have either been cold and wet or just cold. But it was a beautiful day. And what was interesting was it felt to me like on the field level, it was way more windy than it was affecting kicks. So when I was watching everybody warm up both sides, the kicks didn't seem to be affected by the wind. But, I was feeling the wind coming through. So I think it's one of those things where we're in that unique stadium where it's open on both ends. And it depends on which way the wind is coming. If it's coming in sideways, it's kind of swooping around. If it's going straight up and down the middle, it affects the kicks more. But honestly, it didn't seem to affect all those chip kicks. I think there was 4 chip kicks for tries between the 2 teams.
Yep.
So my first question, Quinn, is so as a center and as a wing, as a sevens player who has speed, as a league player who has speed. Quinn has everything, right? He's the all-around offensive tool. What's the signal that somebody's going to chip kick? And are you always ready just in case that a guy like, Jason Emery's going to chip kick it to you?
Well, yeah, it's especially Jason Fussy together. Those 2 guys probably arguably have the best short kicking game in the whole competition. So that's always something that you have to be ready for. Really just like the keys are how their wingers are shaped. If their fullbacks kind of lagging back and their wings are really up high and they're coming hard and they bring a lot of pressure, that's always a good opportunity for a chip kick. So I either normally kind of see that in our preview, looking at their past games of the week, like see how they kind of defend, or like within the first couple of minutes, especially you probably saw it this weekend, we understood how they were going to defend us within like the first couple minutes of being on attack, and we saw those options opening up. And then just guys that have skills like Jason and Fuss being able to put those balls in those specific spots, it's always good. Yeah, and the wingers are always keying on to stuff like that because we always have to be ready.
Yeah, no, it's chip kicks are always exciting, especially when they're scored on. And I think, New York in the past, in 2019, I think Dylan had 2 chip kicks in which one he scored on. He picked his own ball up. And then I want to say Fodes might have scored on the other one, which is always amazing to see a hooker do it. But the other thing was they were talking about that behind the back pass by KT. And dude, we had in 2021, we had James Rochford with a friggin' 2-person skip pass oh God. I'm fucking blank. This is CTE, everybody. This is why you want to be careful. Oh my God. To Appy last year, right? Which he skips to, it's a 9's dream, the pass he throws gets to Appy. You have Kololo doing the behind the back pass. You have Brendan O'Connor on those wings and drawing those defenders in to set up, Ed, or to set up, whoever was moving over there. My question is, in practice, do you see plays like that from the big men often? When you're in training, do you see them do those like amazing passes?
Yeah, we have a specific like time in training where we kind of just play like a game of touch, but it's just like really a chance for us to express ourselves, and the coaches have been really driving not being like tied into really any. Obviously, we have a system and a shape that we fall into, but not going into our shells when we're in that system and being able to throw the offloads, play our passes, short passing games, or hooking out the back to the backs. So yeah, there's definitely no limitations in our team, and it's definitely probably in the past. Even though we didn't win this past weekend, it's definitely something where I'm like pushing toward just as being an expansive team. And not letting those like little things, not being scared to do any of that type of stuff, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where if you're doing it in practice and you're kind of free flowing, nothing should surprise you when you get actually to match time because hey, I know Jason likes to do this move where he does his quick step, he fakes to the right, and then he'll dish it to me on the left. So I know to be prepared on the left side. Or I've seen Kololo throw a friggin' behind the back spiral that lands every time. Be prepared for it. But I think that's one of the things this team, as far as their offensive gameplay, even though we're on a shorter width of a pitch, they're still trying to play that expansive champagne rugby. And it's, when it hits on all cylinders, it hits. Mikey, you have any questions about the offense?
No, I was gonna say a preference from you. We were talking about the chip kick. You as an attacking back. What do you prefer? Do you prefer like that high ball chip, or do you prefer that low grubber that eventually is gonna pop up?
For me personally, I'm like 6'4" or 6'5", so anything in the air, I'll back myself. Yeah, going for it. So especially like with the rugby league background and sevens background, like aerial ability is like very very important from outside backs. So yeah, anything in the air for me is much more manageable.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm a short person, so grubbers for me. I know where it bounces. I'm not beating a 6'5", 6'4" guy in the air because that's just not ever happening in my life.
See, I always wonder if they ever need a guy to play back row or Lucy. You can always put Quinn in because he's tall. He could be a jumper as well.
I played there last, not the game just gone, but the last time we played New England. I think there's a couple there's a few injuries, and I had to go to 6 for about 10 minutes.
When the frig did that happen?
Yeah,
I was there. I didn't even see
I slipped very under the radar. Yeah,
yeah. No, seriously, like I don't remember that happening at all, and that's something I would definitely remember. That's so weird. Oh my god.
Yeah, we had 2 scrums. The first scrum we lost. Might have been my fault, but I think I was doing my job, and the second one we did all right. So yeah,
that's so interesting. But yeah, no, I mean it makes sense. You can't teach height. So this past week, obviously, not a lot of mistakes between the two teams, and I think that shows you what a great match it was. Mm-hmm. And it was so back and forth, and there was a goal line stand, right? The last like 5 minutes of Andy's card there, where New England kept pushing, and you guys were holding, and you were making the tackles, and you were getting them down. I think we held them up at one point. There wasn't a succession of penalties, which sometimes you see when you're backed up that far. What we saw a lot of the defense tighten. My question is, during the bye week, was that something you guys really focused in on? Was tightening those gaps in defense?
We're a team that doesn't really look at the spacing between ourselves. We kind of always want to defend a person. So yeah, that really our defense is based on how their attack is shaping up, and I guess in that circumstances, I think they did a lot of kind of more narrow stuff. But our backs are always obviously looking to them trying to expand wide, so it's definitely a mixture. But we have kind of like a outside in defense, so it's just a really man on defensive system, and I think we really set the tone in the first 15 minutes. You probably saw how impressive our big forwards were in those dominant collisions. I remember that was probably some of the most brutal rugby I've watched. So it's that was really important for them setting that benchmark. So yeah, obviously New England knew in those circumstances that's what they should be expecting.
So that actually leads into an interesting question, because we've seen Caleb Geiger getting a lot of playing time. Caleb coming from a very strong football background where he was playing high-level football. and we see that translate in his tackling ability. I got to be honest. I feel like Caleb's one of the best tacklers on the team. And I think him, first of all, I saw him and Nick Mayu hit Kyle Sakara, and poor Kyle folded up because you're getting, it's a 2-on-1 tackle. But then Kololo came in. I want to say which way we were going. It was first half, probably the last 15 minutes of the first half, and he hit one of the New England locks, and that poor guy was down for quite a while. And even Kololo, it was one of those things where it was the lock was coming in the open field with about 10 meters. Kololo had about 10 meters, and they met in the middle. And man, I swear to God, there was an earthquake in China or something. So my question is, on contact, when you have the ball in hand yourself, what makes your decision to say, should I make a step on this guy or should I just drive the ball into contact?
I think definitely as a back. I know forwards sometimes they just catch one. Like, I'm just going forward, regardless of what's there, whatever the outcome is. I think that can just run over that guy. I think for the backs, sometimes there's a bit more thought process. So obviously, if I catch the ball and I see bigger forwards in front of me, that's a good time to use footwork or speed. Obviously, if it's a smaller guy, then I'll probably back my physical size to use that advantage. So I think that at some point there's a little bit of thought process. But yeah, just that at the end of the day, you just want to run at either their arms and just get away from their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of guys try and make the attempt and get shouldered, to the face, and not intentionally, but and then all of a sudden they're down for an HIA, and that's where you kind of run into those head injury issues. And honestly, I think we see it more and more with height mismatches. You're just gonna kind of get those plays again, not intentionally trying to hurt somebody, but the outcome is gonna be a hurtful one. So my next thing about the match, really, man, it was great. It was great everything. Great tactical kicking, great scrum work, great lineouts, because there was people were snatching balls on both sides. Nick Savetta came in and grabbed a couple balls away from New England. New England was grabbing balls away from us. So my next question is, you come to a breakdown defensively. You line up for your defensive stand, and is it more instinct taking over to say, I'm going to hit the gain line at speed and make the play, or is it more I know what New England is going to do offensively because we watched a lot of tape on them? Is it a combination of both? Like, how do you go into the process of, okay, the ball's coming out of the breakdown, it's go time on defense?
I think that it probably starts before the ball comes out, especially we have to have our eyes up. We have to be looking. A lot of the pictures that we see are quite similar. So we'll know that New England runs a certain shape off a certain rock at a certain kind of area of the field, that we can kind of know what to expect from that. And then obviously falling into our defensive system, making sure that our shoulders are on the right side of their bodies. And then as we come up, obviously, once the ball's out, that's when your rugby sense takes over. And obviously, if the pass goes somewhere, you need to be able to adjust and pick up the next person and slide off and know your next role once something like the pass happens. Just going back to your last question about the tackling, I feel like it might be something from my league background, but I think especially in terms of head injury, going low sometimes, I was always getting taught to go low, especially in Canada. Sometimes when I have been growing up, everyone's been saying tackle low, tackle low, tackle low. But I feel like in a lot of those situations, when you go low, you put yourself arguably in a more dangerous position because there's knees and hips and stuff like that. So I think an even tackling game is very important, not in terms of just like pure rugby skill, but also in terms of safety, being able to go up high and lock the ball and also stop the ball carrier in the same amount of time as a good low tackle. Obviously, in like a lot of situations, a chop tackle is an outstanding piece of rugby, but in some senses, going up high and slowing the ball down is just as effective, and in some cases safer.
We saw that with Johnny Powers. Unfortunately, went low, hit a knee, went out, and I think Caleb Geiger the next match, same thing. Went low on a tackle and caught a knee and went right out. So we have seen it happen, and those guys were classically going low. So I think you can just as easily get those HIA injuries. Let's be honest. I fell in my shower last year and I've never recovered. So I've blown through that protocol. But that's enough about the past. I want to talk to Quinn about, second year in the league here. You're no longer a newbie. You're a vet. You're a vet on this team. You're a vet in this league. You've been there, done that. You played on a great team last year that made the playoffs into the semifinal, losing at the death, which seems to be our fucking MO in the playoffs at this point. But so my question is, so what do you think changed in your routine from last year to this year? Because in my opinion, it doesn't seem like the team changed their routine. It seems like their practices and stuff kind of remain the same. Maybe a little tweaks here or there. But what personally do you think you changed for going from a rookie to a second year player?
Well, yeah, definitely. Obviously, having the traveling, we'll start traveling first. Like for the majority of the season, especially Eastern Conference teams, like I've been to a lot of the places, so I kind of like know the airport, know the hotels that we'll be staying in. That kind of stuff becomes easier. There's like no kind of like questions of is it going to be like this, is it going to be like that. Our manager this year, Jared, he's done a great job, obviously learning from last year and building. So we just have like even less like hiccups than we did last year. So everything's just been super smooth. Personally, I don't know if I've changed too much. I've been playing professionally since I was 18, 17. So like I know what my body needs before the game, stuff like that. It's been a bit of a change for me coming off the bench. Obviously, in a lot of circumstances, it's like 40 plus minutes. Definitely after the game starts, I'll be coming in. So that kind of changes to start like when I'm eating, when my caffeine intake is, when it should be peaking, how I'm warming up in the first half and stuff like that, how I'm watching the game, what I'm doing for the guys at halftime, making sure that I can give kind of any sources of feedback that I see from the sideline, especially to our midfield unit that's like been really tight this year. So yeah, for that, I think that's been my biggest change.
I mean, I think that's probably for any guy coming off of the bench. I think the biggest help is always just saying, "Hey, this is what I saw." Because on the field, you're not seeing the full picture sometimes. On the field, you're solely focused on this action or that action, and maybe you were going downfield and you looked right and didn't realize there was somebody open on your left. And saying that to somebody at halftime, usually you'll click and you'll see that change happen to that particular person, or you'll say, "Hey, it looks like you whiffed on this tackle because you followed his hips. You didn't follow his hips, you followed his shoulders, which made a move." And I think that's highly underestimated from veteran players to veteran players talking. You know what I mean? It's not just about the captain. It's not just about the coach. It's to come in and tell the guy, "Hey, this is what I saw. You might not have seen it. In the next 10 minutes, see if you can adjust it. And then when I come in, give me the picture. What did you see when you were on the field?" And I think, it's not like football, right? You're not in the headsets and the adjustments are happening on the sidelines because the defense is on the sideline. So I think those in-game adjustments are very valuable, especially coming from a guy like you who's been doing it, for years now.
Definitely, yeah. As I said, just our kind of midfield unit specifically works really hard together during the week and against each other. So we know kind of what we're looking for as a unit, and then we can exploit obviously what they've given us in the first half, and then at halftime transitioning into the second half with those adjustments.
Right. I was going to say you had a very interesting offseason this past summer. Getting your first Canadian cap. Congratulations.
Thank
going
you.
on tour with them to Wales. How was that, going into Canada camp for the first time and then, getting your first cap playing against, over in, across the pond?
Yeah, it was obviously a great experience for me. It didn't really feel like, obviously I've grown up in Canada and I've been playing underage Canadian under 18s, 19s, 20s, that stuff.
23,
so like that
25, finally getting on the senior team.
Yeah, something like that. Trying to so obviously I had a good relationship with have a good relationship with Kingsley Jones. So nothing like in the new like environment felt too out of the ordinary, but it just definitely learned a lot in terms of training and just like those high performance moments, the special moments that you have to be on all the time. And I really enjoy that aspect. I've enjoyed it since I was little, playing just like making those 3 or 4 weeks, whenever it is, that rugby is all that you do. So that's been, yeah, it was pretty special for me. Playing in Millennium Stadium and at Twickenham, obviously dream come true for everyone. But yeah, it's definitely now I've learned a lot on and off the field, especially on the training field. The coaches there, Rob Howley, obviously probably one of the best backs coaches in the entire world. So learning from him the little things, it's definitely helped my game, and yeah, I just can't wait to apply those.
Yeah, it's funny because I think as USA Rugby fans, we always watch Canada. If they're not playing at the same time or they're not playing each other, we're watching Canada. We're rooting for Canada. We're rooting for the players that are on our team in the MLR. We're rooting for the players that aren't on our team in the MLR but make the Canadian team. And I know it's vice versa from all the Canadian fans I talk to. So watching you go out there, one being selected, two actually getting your cap. I mean, me and Mikey were texting back and forth the entire time, just talking about your playing time. And you had your family on Facebook, blowing up Facebook and the Rooney group about it. It was awesome, but this is what we love to see. It's not just about the MLR. It's about the players doing their thing internationally. It's about the players, maybe moving a step above the MLR, maybe going and playing a contract in France or going to Super Rugby or whatever. And I think that's one of the things that MLR fans around the league know. Sometimes it's better to just let a guy go, do his thing at the higher level. And you can always say when, Quinn Ngawati, hoist the Webb Ellis Cup for Canada, because he was the captain in 2031. You'd be like, oh, I remember hanging out with Quinn, after Rooney matches and stuff and grabbing a beer at 10th and Willow. You know what I mean? So I think it's always nice to watch you guys grow as rugby players, considering me and Mike only play like old boys tournaments and shit. So it's always nice. So speaking of that, we have your international window last year. You're playing Rugby United this year. The international window and the MLR schedule have now kind of separated a little bit because we started at original time.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from Rugby Canada about any selections for internationals in the window?
Nothing about selections. Obviously, those probably come later down the line. But yeah, obviously I've had a few chats with Kings over the season. Talked to Rob a few times, just caught up after the last Toronto match. So yeah, it's always definitely in the back of your mind. But at the moment, just trying to right the ship at the moment. Yeah, and just kind of peak at the perfect time for us.
And you guys are going to be up in Toronto in 2 weeks, so I'm sure Rugby Canada and their administration will be out in full force watching both teams. So I'm sure you'll get a good look face to face again as you go up there. So here's a question. Going from New York to Toronto. I mean, I know you're a West Coast guy, but New York, to Toronto. Do you feel like it's a homecoming almost when you go up to play in Toronto, or is it just more of another away match for you?
Well, I'm sure. I don't know if you know. I debuted with Toronto Wolfpack after high school.
Correct,
so yeah, that's my first experience of professional rugby league at the time. So since I was 17, pretty much the whole summer, and then the next year after that, and the year after that, Toronto and England were home. So yeah, we're not playing at Lamport Stadium. I've heard that there's been a few kind of like rumblings up there, and I was really bummed out that that's not the Arrows home field, because that would have been even more special for me to be able to play that on that field. But yeah, just the city itself. I still have a few friends that live in the area, so hopefully we get to get them down to the game. But obviously, yeah, for Coe, it's his homecoming for him. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of really, really good memories from Toronto, and I owe the city a lot for sure.
Let's say now being a second year player for Rugby New York, you spent more time in New York and New Jersey. Has your opinion changed in the tri-state area? Do you have a new favorite spot now that you've spent more time down there?
I think this year's been really, really good for me. Last year I did all of the touristy stuff, which was my plan. I just wanted to get it out of the way. But this year now it's been really great for me to be able to just be really fluent with the subway system, how Metro card's always full, knowing what trains to get on and off, what side of the platform to get on. I'm not like looking, is this train going uptown or downtown? I've kind of cut that out. So that's been really great. the beginning of the year, we were training. We had an indoor facility in Brooklyn for 1 day a week, so we made the trek all the way across there. So it's great to see that side of the city as well. But yeah, really just becoming more in tune with what it means to be a New Yorker. Andy talks about it a lot and how it shapes us. But yeah, just really understanding what the city's built on, first of all, and second of all, like what it means to be a New Yorker. Even though like when we're here, there's 9 million people, it might feel like you're pretty lonely, but in actual fact, like we are all New Yorkers, and that like has, especially this year, has become to mean a lot to me.
That's awesome. So I have a question because I know last time you were on the show, we asked you about comfort food, and I know from a few of the other guys too, they mentioned you're like a junk food guy. You know, with the
who's saying this? Who's saying this?
I'm just you talked about the KFC. No, was it KFC or was it?
I said Chipotle. I know not Chipotle.
No,
I said
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. But that's everyone that comes to America likes Chick-fil-A.
But so my question is, rooming with Andrew. Andrew is a super duper foodie. You know, have you opened up your horizons a little bit with food?
Yeah, I think I don't think I have the budget that Andrew has, but I have. I follow on. There's a few good TikTokers that get into the real divey places in New York and find all the good stuff. This year, definitely my favorite has been Lena's Italian Kitchen. That's my favorite by far. So the rigatoni from there is delicious.
That's awesome. Real quick, we're just gonna get into kind of.
I was gonna say I got one more real quick one because we've been asking everyone this about them. You know, we know that you're in charge of the music, and we're asking them, you know, what they would put on. But how's your flow of the music changed this year? You know, what have you been putting out for the guys during training?
Oh yeah, I think like I said last year, it's definitely a tough crowd. I think this year I have a bit more help in terms of the forwards and backs. So in the back session, I'll run the music, and forward session KT will run the music. But you're trying to flow. Obviously, you can't find new songs every day, so it's on what days that you play certain songs. But recently, the boys have been liking a lot of drum and bass. Sometimes we get into the older hip hop. I've been trying to really like have at least 1 day a week where it's just mainly New York artists. So Biggie,
just DMX for 2 hours, baby.
Yeah, DMX. We're just try and find get the guys in tune with the city that we're in. That's for sure.
I'm sorry, I just had to. I mean, because I'm older than you. So when DMX came out, I was in high school, and then it's funny how younger people view DMX because I actually met him several times living in the area, and he talks just like how he raps.
Yeah.
So I went up to him. I saw him in the movie theater. I was like, "Yo, what's up, Max? I'm a fan." And he's like, "Yo, my man, thanks for being a fan." And then he gave me a fist bump, and I was like, "All right, that's it. I don't want to bother him." And then I met him again in the exact same words, the exact same way, just like he was rapping. It was hysterical. But real quick, let's talk about Nola.
Yeah.
So we have a Nola team that really, I think, is a dangerous team, right? Nola can score points. Nola can tackle. Nola seems to be the team that gets under our skin the most. Very fearful, and this is just me as a fan, for Kara and if Will Tucker is back in the lineup, because those guys seem to get agitated a little bit, and Cam Dolan knows how to get under people's skin. I love Cammy, but he does. He knows how to get under people's skin, specifically Kara. Don't know why he goes after Kara. Maybe it's just because he knows he can get a reaction. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to watch our play. We're going to have to watch the extracurricular activities. We had Andy go out this past week for what I presume to be talking back a little bit because there's no other explanation as to why he went out. So I think one of the big things for us is to not let Nola play the head games, especially since we're home. And I think they're going to try and do it. The second thing is, and this is just, I say this every week, Quinn, no offense to you in the backs. I want to see more pick and goes. I want to see KT running down people's throats. I want to see Butch running down people's throats. I'm telling you, Brendan O'Connor and Kara Pryor have been on fire since day one. And specifically Brendan, who's had these remarkable runs downfield where he's almost seemed to outpace the backs because he turns around and he's like, oh shit, I don't have support. Smartly enough, understands that, slows down to create the next phase. I think a younger player might just try and continue into contact by himself and either get driven out or not have support when he gets tackled. So I think, what do you think the key is for you when you get in the game? So let's just say you're selected to start against Nola. What do you think you have to work on?
It's kind of hard. I think a lot of times it's for me specifically, it's probably how I transition. If I was to start transition into the team and like not be for the force, not have that much separation between how Fuss and I, how we operate with them, using the same language, being similar in terms of communication and like kind of sequences, but then obviously how I put my own spin on that. That's probably going to be like a very important thing, just to have that cohesion and make sure that everything that those guys have been doing for the past few weeks that's starting to come together stays that way. But then me personally, I just like want to become like a more all-around player. Obviously, just continue to work on small kicks, my passing, pretty much the normal stuff for backs, but in terms of game plan,
And I think every player is always striving and trying to achieve that match they say was a perfect match, where they hit every pass, they caught every pass, their kicks were on point, their tackles were good. And, you know, obviously you're not always going to get that, but if you keep striving for it, eventually you're going to hit that. So real quick before we go, Mikey, what's your prediction this week?
I am going to say we need a big win this week. It's going to home win. I'm saying Rugby New York by 7, and I hope it's more, because I know the bad luck when I put double digits. When I say it's double digits, it ends up going horribly for me. So I'm going to go, you know, Rugby New York by 7. You know, because you know we need a good win. As you were saying, you know, hopefully it all depends on if they get under our skin or not. You know, you talked about Cam Dolan. You know, the one guy that comes to mind when I think of Nola getting under people's skin is Juan Capiello, and you know. It seems like every time like there's something happening, he seems to be in the middle. You know, and you know, with the backs too, we've got Ed Fidel, who we know is, you know,
Fiery.
he's been pretty scrappy and rowdy too. So you know, Juan going after Ed might be, you know, their game plan. Who knows? But yeah, I'm saying, you know, Rugby New York by 7.
All right, I'm gonna. All right, I'll say Rugby New York by converted try. You know, these are all subject to what lineup comes out. And lineup, I expect Quinn to be in as a starter, to be quite honest. And even if I may be so bold, I think Quinn scores a try in this match. I think
I need one this year, guys.
Listen, I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there. I could see it happening. I think they're going to focus on Eddie a little bit too much. I think that'll open up the guys in the middle, you, Fossey, Jason. If we see Wysocki on the field, they're going to focus on him as well. And I just think it opens up some gaps for our 3 amazing centers to really go hitting hard. So you know, Marty, if you're watching, I expect Quinn to start. You know, the big guy stamp of approval. But I'm going to say it by a converted try. Our Jason Zimmerman, the #1 Rooney fan, says Rooney by 11, and our friend Susie, who's a Nola fan in the Maryland, Virginia, DC area, is going to come up again for this match. See you there, Susie. Always great to see you. Anyway, Quinn, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll have you on again for a third time, you know, later in the season. Hopefully maybe before
awesome.
You know, a playoff game or the championship match.
Yeah.
That'd be very nice. But good luck this week against Nola. Appreciate it. I'm the big guy, Scott. No problem. I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar. That's Mike the Grab Bob Parazzini. And we'll see you guys at the next.